right. Well, welcome to Tech Talks. And today my guest is James Mazzaros. He's a tech with Centera Gold. And I'm going to let him give you a little background history on himself and very basic overview of his skill set.
Yeah, I'm basically a tech. I've been with a company called Centera. This is not sponsored or any way related to Centera, by the way. Yeah, I've been doing computers, since 1980. Apple II, Commodore 64, assembly programming, not basic as well, but a lot of assembly. And was always a coder as a hobbyist. I've never been paid to code. And I became a tech over the years. And finally, when I had a boy, I had a son, and I needed to get serious about my career and went the certification route, lots of Microsoft and Cisco, a variety of certifications. And, worked for a school district for 10 years. And now I'm into, mining. As I'm not a miner, I'm the tech for the mining company. And yeah, I've been there with 7 for 7 years now. So been a good time, good company.
Cool. So yeah, you've been in the industry then for 30 years?
In the industry, I would say, let me think for a minute. When did I guess around 96, 95, 96, I started selling them out of my home computers and repairing. So probably 24 years, I guess, where it's formal.
So 24 years in the IT industry. And how many years in the enterprise industry?
I guess 1998, so 21 years.
So you're quite seasoned in the enterprise world. Cool.
Yep.
So that just gives the viewers an overview of how long you've been around IT and in particular the enterprise world. Now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, on top of that, I've always been like an avid video gamer, and I started with Pong, actual Pong. Like I paid quarters to play Pong, with the two paddles that go up and down, the ball that bounces back and forth. So I've been gaming since since Pong came out. Asteroid, Atari, Donkey Kong, and now I'm into big into VR, PUBG. Maybe we'll talk about PUBG later in the hacks and the cheating that frustrates the hell out of me. But VR is a big thing for me now.
So speaking of Pong, I'm sure that lost a lot of the audience because they're probably too young to know what that is. But fair enough, whatever. But speaking
Google it, kids. Google it.
Yeah,
Pong. It's terrible. I don't even know why I liked it then.
Because it was easy to program.
I think it was just the idea that something could go on the screen, on a TV back then. Like I played the arcade, but it was still a TV within the cabinet, and you could turn a dial. You could turn a dial, and a little paddle would go back at them. They also called it. Didn't they call it tennis something or? Not table tennis, but it's basically like tennis, right? You get a little paddle and a little ball bouncing back and forth. So it's old. It's one of the very first video games ever.
I think there were some knockoffs around that were various titles of it. But speaking of games, okay, so let's talk about your new baby, the new Cadillac of Cadillacs that you have. You want to? I pulled it up on the screen here behind me. You have purchased the Rift S.
Yeah, I'll grab it. I keep it hooked on the ceiling. I have I don't know if you can see it here. You can't see my face, but that's okay. It's spring loaded, so that way when you're walking around the room, you're not stepping on the cable. I started with the development kit DK2 for those that have VR before. Okay, Oculus came up with the DK1. The original DK1 by Palmer Luckey was a headset, and it tracked directional, but not this way. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't move forward, back. You couldn't walk around the room. If you leaned forward, it wouldn't know you leaned. It could just do directional U-turn, which was revolutionary. Then the DK2, Development Kit 2 came out, and it was cool because you could actually move within the space laterally, not just directional. You move left, move right, it would track you properly. But it wasn't room scale. You couldn't walk around the room. Still cool though, but had no hand tracking. So, I'd play space games and have joysticks on the desk and things. And then I got the Oculus Rift CV1, consumer version 1, and it allowed you to walk around the room, and it was quite marvelous, quite a step up. It also had hand trackers, right, where you can, this is the one from this one, but they were very similar. Had a button, had a joystick, right, where you can move the stick around. And it could even tell whether you touched a button versus pressing it. So you could point with it, for example. If you go like that, it would know you're pointing. So that was a nice step up as well. the problem with it that I didn't like was you had to have sensors around the room. So I had 3 sensors, and sometimes they would say it couldn't track properly, and you're messing around with them a little bit. And it made it very difficult to be portable. I had them mounted to the walls, and sometimes I want to take this down. Back then, I used to want to take my equipment down to the mine on Christmas and let people there try VR that never tried it. Well, with the sensors, it's a pain in the butt. It's not easy to move. It comes with little stands, but you got to remove them, and there's always a lot of messing around to get them set. To get them set. Anyway, this one I hawed and hummed about buying this one since the CV1 was so good, but this one has no sensors, which means it also uses 3 less USB ports. There's 1 USB port plus 1. This one's DisplayPort. The CV1 used HDMI. This uses DisplayPort, and it has cameras built into the unit. And it essentially.
So that means it's a much higher resolution too, then, using DisplayPort. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, better refresh rates, etc. I read briefly about the specs. There's something to do with the HDMI couldn't keep up or something. I'm confused by that though, and I haven't Googled it or researched it extensively because the old Oculus was 90 frames a second. I mean, it sometimes dropped, but that was their target, was 90 frames a second, and this one's set to 80. So I don't understand why DisplayPort was needed, but that's probably me just not understanding the tech behind it. Anyway, irrelevant. I got rid of it. I wanted rid because I have less things plugged into my computer. I don't have 3 sensors. The setup time, once you plug it in and install it, like to set the room so that it knows where the edges are, it's under a minute. It's so fast and simple. And you essentially put the unit on and you hold the controllers. And it's like a laser pointer. You just literally draw out the line around you. It's
wow.
Beautiful. It was, yeah. So if I took this over to your house, I could have it set up in a minute. Well, you install the software, but it's so fast. So yeah, and the cameras, built in the unit just save a lot of headaches. So yeah, so that's why I went with it. I thought it was $550 plus taxes and shipping, Canadian. And I was looking at eBay and realized I could sell my CV1 for around 300-ish. So I thought $550 plus taxes, say 600, 610, whatever. For $300 extra, once I sell my old one, I can get a heck of an upgrade and be much more portable. So yeah, so I did it, and it's better optics visually. It's beautiful. It's hard to explain why it's better. It's just crisper and clearer. There are lots of other YouTube videos where people have shown the difference. It's better optics than the HTC Vive Pro. It's much crisper and clearer. And on top of that, they've changed the band style. This puts most of the weight at the back or on your forehead. The CV1 used to put a lot of pressure right on your cheekbones. And that drove me a little crazy because after about an hour and a half, like your cheeks start to hurt. And this has redistributed the weight brilliantly. So it had so much going for it for me to upgrade, more comfortable, better optics, beautiful, and no extra sensors, which also means no resources, for 3 USB devices plugged into my computer. So yeah, no, I'm thoroughly impressed. Had it for about a month now, maybe a month and a half. And if you're a VR enthusiast, I do recommend it. I've not tried the HTC Vive Pro or the Windows Mixed Reality and the other one, so I can't say that I've actually compared them directly myself. I can only compare it to its predecessor, and it is certainly worth it.
Cool. So have you got that? They looked like a really cool title coming out for it about Asgardians. It was like a god one. It looked really kick-ass. So.
Is it out now? I remember reading about it a while back.
Yeah, it's supposed to be out now, and everybody's giving it great reviews and stuff. It's like a real game for a change.
I'm going to hang this back up. Bear with me for 2 seconds. There's a hook in the ceiling I keep on.
So now, that hardware and the Quest are similarly priced. But from my little bit of research into it, it looks like the Quest isn't going to be able to accommodate all of the titles, whereas the S1 is.
Yeah, the Quest is, it's similar technology. It's got hand trackers. It's got cameras built in. The Quest is not for the VR enthusiast. It's for the average, well, how would you word it? I guess it's for somebody that doesn't have a really high-end, powerful computer but still wants to play in VR a bit. There's some titles been ported to the Quest, like Robo Recall, where you're shooting robots, but they had to dumb down the graphics a bit, right? Because the Quest is essentially, like, I forget the chip, Qualcomm maybe. I mean, it's essentially a cell phone in it, kind of. It's not an actual cell phone, but the same CPU and stuff. So it just doesn't have the power that a full PC has. So a lot of good titles. I've read a lot about it. I considered buying one at one point for the portability because it doesn't require a PC. You just bring it to somebody's living room. Go ahead and play.
And you can still watch your movie collection or whatever on it, per se?
Sure. Yeah. It's think of the Gear VR. It's like a high-end Gear VR, except you can walk around the room. Gear VR didn't support that. Gear VR again was just directional, right?
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't move laterally or forward, back, whatever. So a high-end Gear VR with the hand trackers. It has controllers very much like these ones. So if you have a gun, you can shoot the trigger. You can grab things. So it's kind of midway between the Oculus Rift S and the Gear VR. It's a step up from the Gear VR, but not anywhere near as the Oculus Rift S.
Right.
It's apparently a good product. Lots of good games out there. Vader Immortal, where you get captured by the bad guys in Star Wars, and you end up fighting alongside Darth Vader in a lightsaber battle. A bunch of robots are attacking both of you, and that's a rush, and it's supported on the Quest. So there are some really amazing titles on it.
Okay, and I'm sure the next generation will be even more powerful and probably support everything. So,
well, in fact, that's one of the complaints about the Quest was there was better chips, like, and we're not talking 2 or 3%. We're talking, I forget the exact number, but much more powerful available at the time it came out. So why didn't they use those? They could have done it better. But overall, apparently, it's quite good. And yeah, you're right. It'll just get better and better.
Yeah, well, that just makes sense to me because you're always going to be behind in your R&D cycle, right? So if you're developing a product, you're always going to be at least one chip behind what the current cutting edge on the market is. So, and it takes time to develop and fine tune these products. So if you go switching the chip at the last minute, well, you don't know what you're getting into, right? So it makes sense that it's a generation behind.
Exactly. Exactly as you said, once you're developing it, by the time it's released, that's an old chip now. So, but now if you decide to use a new chip, now you're back to R&D again. And then by the time you release that, it's an old chip now. It's almost like a no-win for them.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. I highly recommend it. Games I'd recommend: Robo Recall for sure, Vader Immortal for the Star Wars fans, for the Star Trek fans, Star Trek Bridge Commander. You get to sit on the bridge of the Enterprise and various other ships and do missions. You can be the captain, the engineer. It's a multiplayer thing. Lots of good videos on there with people playing it, including one fun video with Jerry Ryan, who played Seven of Nine from Star Trek Voyager, LeVar Burton, who played Geordi LaForge from Star Trek Next Gen, and a couple other Star Trek alumni, and they're playing Star Trek Bridge Crew, and they were literally saying, "Wow, I literally feel like I'm on the ship and I'm doing this." So that's a good one.
Well, I know your brother Marty reached out to me and told me I had to buy a VR set so that we could play Bridge Commander together. So I thought that was kind of funny, but
it's pretty cool. I tell you, you sit down and you just press the button and touch the console, and even when you're the engineer, like the captain, which is a real person, by the way, will yell at you, quick, all power to aft shields as you're like racing the hell out of there. And there's little sliders and things, and you're literally transferring all power to aft shields. I mean, you're actually doing what they say. So it's pretty cool. So I would recommend that. And for music lovers, Beat Saber is the big one right now. I got hooked on Audio Shield. Audio Shield and Beat Saber are very similar. You're in an auditorium type scenario and notes are coming at you and you're
cutting them down. And I think everybody's more or less familiar with the type.
Well, Audio Shield
started it, right? So
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the whole Guitar Hero saga started that sort of thing, and then and Dance Dance Revolution genre too. It's kind of just taking it to the next level, right?
Yeah, and that's why they're very similar, right? They have notes coming at you, and Beat Saber, you slice them with laser. I guess they're I'm having a brain fart. Lightsabers. And sorry, I just mentioned Star Wars. I couldn't remember what a lightsaber is called. And then an Audio Shield is almost the exact same game, except you're just catching them with shields. And I played Audio Shield a lot. Great game, yeah. So.
That reminds me of a pet peeve I got right now. It's like, okay, so you're a game caster, and there's lots of them out there doing your live streams or your Twitch or whatever you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. And you're playing one of these games, and the music notes are coming at you, and the song is in the background. Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as you go to upload that music video, the SME music police are going to be all over you with copyright infringement. So it's kind of a pain.
Sorry, Bradley, we're doing a webcast. If you can close my door, though, I'd appreciate it. Sorry about that. A little interrupted.
Yeah, I don't think he heard you. But.
This is how important this webcast is. He was bringing me bacon. And I turned it down. bacon, actual cooked bacon.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. There's definitely copyright issues with webcasting, anything like that, right? But keep in mind too, there's also like copyright issues with some game companies pulling people's videos because they're showing their gameplay. You know, you just go play. I'm trying to think of a game that's done it. I don't want to. Well,
Sorry.
PUBG, to the best of my knowledge, has not done it, but let's pretend they did, right? I record my PUBG session, and they've taken down my videos because of copyright claims. Again, PUBG has not done that to the best of my knowledge. I'm just using them as an example, and that's happened as well, just regular gameplay. So it's becoming tough to.
Yeah, although from what I've heard and looking into it the last few days, the game companies are very understanding, right? They're really good, and you know, it's like it's getting their product out there, and more people want to buy the game based on the people playing. They get it, right? Whereas the music industry or these third-party contractors for the music industry, it's more about taking your resources. Like, let me just show you this here on my, where's my mouse? There we go. So there's my YouTube channel. So you see this one right here, maintenance workout. It's in draft mode still. I uploaded it yesterday. I have not hit publish on it. And less than 2 minutes, you can see it's a 7-minute and 32-second video. Less than 2 minutes after it had completed just uploading, I got an email with basically a cease and desist copyright notification for the songs that were playing in the background. Now, it was just music on YouTube by the actual artists, right? So it was actually the artists, their videos, their official music videos, because just how the playlist I had was.
Yeah.
And I was doing a workout video, and I was recording it and doing my thing, and I got this cease and desist. I had not even hit publish yet. And it's by a bot that has to be right at YouTube's site for this SME company, because they wouldn't have had access to it unless I hit publish, right?
Yeah.
So it had to be right on that upload server or those upload clusters. It had to be right tagged to there. And as soon as a file is uploaded, regardless of being published or not, that thing gets scanned and notified. And that's where I have the problem. It's like, okay, I had copyright stuff in there, didn't really realize it, not a big deal. I'm not going to publish the video. I'm going to pull it because fair is fair. And that's a little more than fair use because the full songs were playing while I was doing my workout. It wasn't like I mentioned the song or like one little sentence of the song aired or something, whatever. Okay, I consider that stuff fair use, even though these guys don't apparently.
Yeah.
But thing is I hadn't even published it yet, and I'm getting a cease and desist email from a third-party vendor, not even from YouTube. And so they have their bots plugged right in, and that should be criminal. Like, how is that even allowed? Like, my God,
Agreed.
Are you really trying to make people not want to use your service? If something else came along that was comparable, can you imagine how many people are going to jump shit because of that? It's horrible. Let alone, I watched one guy yesterday when I started looking into it, because I'd never run into it before. It had never bought, I'm like, oh, well, I should figure out what's going on and, know the rules and this and that, whatever. One guy he had in the title of his video, it was some song, which I wasn't familiar with the song, and how a paper towel dispenser sounded like it. And so he filmed a paper towel dispenser, and it was making the sound that sounded like the first couple guitar riffs or whatever and he got a cease and desist order for that.
What?
Yeah. And here's the thing. When someone hits a cease and desist order against you, it stops all monetary transactions. Not like I make any money on my channel, so I don't care. I mean, I only have a handful of viewers. But the thing is that if it grew and they place this against it, any revenue gets held until the discrepancy is resolved. So either you take the video down or you dispute it. And here's the thing. This guy lost his dispute over that riff thing. And then I found out doing some more research, it's because the dispute isn't resolved by YouTube. It's resolved by the people who put in the copyright dispute in the first place.
Oh, wow.
And then
and of course they're going to, go with their own. And
so any money from that clip that he made, they then get.
Yeah.
They get it. They get the revenue generated by the clip. So it's like, this is pretty sleazy business tactics, in my opinion. And for YouTube they have the process in place for a reason. I get that. And, there's very legitimate uses of it.
It's
But
just being
for
abused.
YouTube to allow the abuse of this system, and before your video's even live, like,
Yeah.
my goodness, that's just crazy. Like, that is opening up the doors for all sorts of lawsuits, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
Well,
whatever.
I think it shouldn't be a cease and desist. It should be if an automated bot caught it and thinks that it might be illegal usage, right? Then you should get a warning. Just say, hey, heads up, this, our bot caught this and it might be illegal. Please verify. And then YouTube themselves should have to, if you say it's fine, YouTube themselves should have to go and look at it and just like,
Yeah,
oh
and they
yeah,
don't.
that's fair. That's fair usage, sure.
Yeah, and they don't. The third-party vendors will too.
Yeah.
YouTube will get involved if there isn't a resolution. So say you're battling with them back and forth, because I heard it's painful. These guys will take forever to get back to you, which makes
Sure.
sense if they're tying up that money and getting the clicks, and then of course, they're going to want to drag their butts, right?
Sure.
But the thing is that, it's like this automated bot thing, because mine was an automated bot. It was not a human being. Couldn't have
Sure.
been, because you can't watch 7 minutes and 23 seconds in less than 2 minutes. He just couldn't do it, right? So a bot
Yeah.
had to be scanning the uploads. But that's the thing. It's like they shouldn't be scanning the uploads. They should be actively scanning after the published state. And so to me, that's a huge
Yeah, you haven't
problem.
made it available yet legally. You've
Exactly.
just saved it. Yeah.
And this doesn't count as a copyright strike. Like, it's this totally copyright strike is something else. That's where you've been found guilty or you're a repetitive user or you refuse to take it down or whatever. And then YouTube will hit you with a copyright strike. And after 3 strikes, you're out. Your channel shut down. So
Well, it's getting so ridiculous that
some of these guys are, like a million freaking hits. So,
yeah.
they
It's
don't.
getting so ridiculous. You could be making a video out in the street, legitimately making a video. Maybe it's a video that's going to get a million hits, right? And then you happen to, while you're recording, walk by a house that's playing somebody's song, as they're blaring the speakers loud. And the next thing you know, which is not your fault, you didn't play the video. You just happen to be walking by where you're doing a recording in a location that fits whatever type of video you're making. And the next thing you know, your video is pulled. It's like, well, but that was just on the street. Is that not public recording?
Yeah, totally. Like, it's crazy. It's so out of control. Yeah. And to me, it's just greed. It comes down to greed, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I bet you if you actually talk to any of the individual artists, not in my case, because I did have the music going, but like in some of these other ones, like the paper towel dispenser one, I bet the artists would go, oh my God, that's so ridiculous, themselves. But it's not them. It's all the legal team and the business team and it's all the people actually set to make money for the corporation there. They don't even give a rat's ass about the artist, I'm sure. They care more about their corporate pennies, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember a few years ago reading an article about an actual artist who was trying to publish his own work, and it was flagged for copyright. And he's like, it's my expletive, then bleep, 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 song.
Yeah.
And he fought for months to get that video put back up. It's like, it's my song. I wrote it. I made it. And they weren't saying that it was a copy of somebody's song. They're literally saying, let's say his name is, I can't remember, but let's say his name is Fred Jones. He was getting a copyright notice because he was, playing one of Fred Jones's music. He's like, yeah, that's me. I'm allowed to.
Exactly.
And he got copyright infractions and took him months, I guess. I'm not 100% how it resolved. By the way, name isn't Fred Jones. I just can't remember who it is.
Yeah.
But it took him months to get it resolved. And I don't remember what happened. But that's where these bots are getting ridiculous. Like, it's my music. Piss off,
Yeah, it makes you got to be so careful with any content you put out there now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you even mentioned a real artist's name, you might get something like it's I don't know, it's crazy. But
well, look at how many videos people have a T-shirt where it's like a company or a band or something, and they blur that out just because they're so terrified of copyright. Oh, I got a Def Leppard T-shirt. Oh, sorry, copyright infraction because it's on somebody else's YouTube channel.
Yep.
Exactly. Like, well, doesn't Def Leppard want me? I'm again using them as an example. I don't know if they've ever done.
See, now you've probably gotten us flagged.
Yeah, probably. I mentioned
if I'm mentioning it, we're probably flagged, right?
Sorry.
We'll find out though, because if we are, that would be so hilarious. Because I will publish this one anyways. And
I should be a jerk and play a Def Leppard song right now.
No.
Just kidding.
But it's hilarious because it's like you pull an example out and you talk about public space, fair use, or whatever, and they're going to flag you. It's just crazy. But that's the problem with these bots too. These bots aren't perfect. These bots are flawed. So how are these bots able to write the gospel on this? And you can't get a fair review is the thing. Like if you could go to YouTube and say, hey, watch this video, take a look at it, use your common sense, that would be one thing. But you can't. YouTube has no way for you to do that. When you put in a dispute, it goes straight to whoever put the dispute in, which, oh, well, that's really going to work out for you. Like, come on.
I have one thing to say in response to all that, the bots. All hail our robot overloads. All hail
Yeah.
our robot overlords.
Yes. Well, that's obvious by your suck up shirt there.
Yes, I keep our robot overlords running, as
That's
you
right.
do on occasion.
Cool. So, yeah. Well, I think maybe we should end this one where we're at.
Cool.
There was quickly you were gonna show me. Well, I can see the Spider-Man shirt in the background there. You're gonna tell me a little bit of history about that.
No, I just bought it. Just plain bought it as investment. It cost me like $800, and I bought it before Stan Lee died. And it's signed by Stan Lee, framed.
Okay, yeah, that's
And
what makes it
it's
so special. Then the Stan Lee
yeah.
signature.
You probably can't. It's probably not clear enough, but dead center in the Spider-Man logo is some gray writing, and that's Stan Lee's signature. So.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't know if
Okay.
you can make it out, but you can definitely see it on the middle
Yeah.
of Spider.
And then over here, this side here, I got the Zelda, the bow, which my boy's a big Zelda fan, so I'll be giving him that for Christmas. So
Right,
this is sort of my nerd space, right? You can't see all of it, but there's science stuff and Star Trek posters and Wonder Woman and Battlestar Galactica and all sorts of fun and silly stuff in this room. Some of it you can see in little tiny things, right?
Well, you'll have to bring out more stuff for the next time we get together here on one of these web chats.
Sure.
We'll have to bring a showpiece every episode there that we do. So.
Well, that's true because I got lots of stuff, right? Cool. Anyway, that's fun.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Have a good one.